We had a really, really lovely little online gathering this morning. This was the first gathering that I'm going to do once a month, maybe more. We'll see. But it was so lovely where I got an opportunity to really express and invite people into their longing and what happens there. And I know from my own experience that it's such a gift. It's such a powerful gift when we really embrace the longing on whatever level it's at. It doesn't matter. And I saw it right in front of my eyes where they were like, wow, I think one said it was a paradigm shift, and there was some like really profound things. It was just beautiful. Small group to start with. I really hope that more will um, take that invitation and receive that invitation and join us, because when we talk about these things and we take the time to really explore it as a little experiment where we go in there and we do it together, can be very, very powerful. So I want to go over some of the steps again, because there are actually two specific quotes that has come together to me as revealing what is really happening. The one is that I've talked about before, both of them actually. It's from the Gospel of Thomas, and it says, "Heaven is spread all over the earth, all over the world, and man cannot see it." I may butcher that quote a little bit, but it's basically heaven, the divine, is all over the earth, and man cannot see it. Man cannot see, hear, taste, touch, smell it with our five senses. That's why we don't trust the divine. That's why we keep seeking for it. That's why we do all these things we do. It reminds me of something I saw many years ago. I think somewhere in India, they train people to walk with an arm up in the air like all the time to reach God. The craziest things we do, right? But it's because we long for it. And that is the most important thing that I've seen here from heaven being all over the earth, is that we can't see it, but we long for it. And that's not a mistake. It's real. You can feel that longing. You know you long for something better or more peaceful, more loving, or just the purity of love. We all do. And that is not a mistake. And it's not unspiritual either. It lives in us because since we can't see, hear, taste, touch, and smell it, it doesn't mean it's not here, right? We can't see it, but we can sense it. And that sensation of longing, that is heaven all over the earth. That is it. It's your longing. And if we really take that seriously, and I mean seriously, if we make that a priority in our life, instead of going out there looking for God, which is fine if you want to do it. I know there's so many spiritual traditions and they're so beautiful. And if it fills your heart and helps you connect with the divine, I'm certainly not going to be anybody telling you what you should or shouldn't do. But I am inviting you to maybe try an avenue where it is really closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. And that is available to each and every one of us 24/7. If we want to experience it, then we need to go to the place where it exists. It does not exist in the mind. It exists in that longing, in that sweet longing for love, for peace, for companionship, for connection. That is where that lives. If you feel any kind of longing for, I would say, anything, take that seriously. If you long for something on the outside, a car, a relationship, money, who knows what, you're still going out, right? So it's a matter of thinking about, well, if I had that car, if I had that relationship, what would that do for me? What feeling would I get from that? And that is what we really want. We think it's these things out there, but it's not. It is the experience we get from having these things out there. So if the experience we want is security, safety, love, joy, connection, that is what we really want. And that can only be found in here. You cannot feel connection out there, right? You may have a person you feel connected to, but the feeling is still inside of you. So if we can stay with that longing and say, yeah, I long for connection. And then instead of trying to get rid of it or trying to push it away, or remembering all the times when there was a connection and then it went away, right? Then we leave it and go to our head and we lose the entry point into that experience. So that was the Gospel of Thomas. And then there's our friend Rumi, who said, your task is not to seek for love out there, but to seek and find within yourself all the places that you have built against it. And that is all the times when we, for instance, being afraid to feel the longing again. I have talked to a number of people just the last few days where that's a very common thing. So if you have that too, you're not alone. It's a thing we have done to make sure we will not be hurt again. The only hurt we will ever feel is when we close ourselves off from the deep, sweet longing in our heart, no matter what it is. If we long for things on the outside, it's simply misguided. It is because we have been conditioned to believe that something on the outside will give us a sense of peace or love. And it does. I know that. It does for a while. And that's beautiful. And that's how it should be. But if we are not connected to it here, where it actually comes from, where this relationship or this money or this car might just suddenly show up in a way that we could never, imagine even, it is because we have kept the door open and we are staying with the energy of the longing. And then we allow it to come into this dimension, if we can say it that way. And then we do not know what happens. But since it is this sweetness that we are allowing out into the world, how can it be other than sweet? In whatever sweet, however you experience sweet, can be different for everyone, but it comes from here. And that longing that we feel, that is heaven spread all over the earth. It is it. And we call it longing, right? But longing is a sensation. It is an experience. Longing doesn't mean that we are missing something. That's actually a good point. It doesn't mean we're missing something, but we can turn it around and say that your true self is missing you connecting back to it. And that's why it feels like a yearning or And that sensation is sweetness itself when you go there. And then when you go there, and I saw that this morning, which was so beautiful. It was like the grief of not having it, the resistance to going there, it just vanished. And instead, there was just this outpouring of love, wanting to share it in the world, with the world, however. But there's just this outpouring of this energy. So don't confuse longing with something is missing, that you need to get something, which is what we have been programmed to believe. It does not mean that. It just means that there is a sweet sensation. It can feel bittersweet because it's kind of layered with not having it or having lost it. And we can say, in a way, we have lost God, because we have turned away from it. It's always there. You will always want it, always, because there's nothing better. So there we have heaven is spread all over the earth. Man cannot see it. Why can't we see it? Well, Rumi says we have built all these obstacles or whatever barriers against it. That's why we can't see it. So when we allow these barriers, and these barriers, you can trust me that inside these barriers, there's a deep yearning for love. There's a deep yearning for peace and for, connection, whatever it is. It's inside the barriers. So we're not going to try and push the barriers away. We're just going to allow the barriers, and that could be grief, that could be fear, could be anger. Okay, welcome. You can be here too. You can be here too. And then you just allow yourself to feel that without resistance, without a story, if you can. And that is a practice. I know that for myself, in myself, with my clients, with my work. That is something we all need to learn. And it takes some time because we're so conditioned to go the other direction. And then when when I've done this myself, when I come down into the depth of this pain or anger or whatever it is, then suddenly I can go, but Pernilla, is that what you want? No. What do you want? I want to feel connection. It's like, oh, and that is where you fully embrace and allow the longing for connection. And that's where it is. It's right there. If you don't experience that on your first or your 100th try, don't worry about it. You are melting through the layers and the barriers. And that is a very necessary process, because otherwise we do the spiritual bypass. And then these barriers, they're still sitting there closed off, but now we're kind of, trying to look above it. But they're still there, and then you cannot feel the sweetness inside of it. So it's a delicious process, but it is very helpful to do it, with another, with a coach, with a guide, with a group, and then you can actually really feel and see what happens when we do that together. So of course, I want to invite you to join next time. It's always a good idea to get on my email list, because then you will get the emails about when I offer that next time. I will also speak it here from time to time, but not always, because sometimes there's other things that are coming through. But remember that the longing you feel, that is heaven on earth. You can't see, hear, taste, touch, and smell it. But it is here. And the reason that you are connected with it is because you are feeling a longing for it. That means that you are somehow aware that there is something else beside what the senses present to you. That's a clue. It's a very important clue. And the longing does not mean like, oh, I don't have it, I'm so sad. It simply means, here I am, all over the earth. Here I am. Can you feel me? Like, oh, yeah. And then you enter through that portal, which is not really a portal. Once you're in it, it's just love. It's just love. I want to just say one more thing about this, because a lot of people, they have a religious or spiritual backgrounds and communities. In a lot of these communities, longing is very misunderstood. So instead of going there, they have learned that, that's not a place to go. That means attachment. It's blah, blah, blah. That can be true, and it is probably true when you're only out here. But the direction is to go straight into the longing. And I would like to say that what I have also realized the last week or two, when I have really, it's been just unraveling from within, it seems that there is so much, things are so backwards in the world. And the more I realize the absolute power of longing, maybe I should write a book, The Power of Longing, the more I can see that we have been misguided. We have been told things that are not true, that have prevented us from going here. I'm not going to go into how and why and who, but I think a lot of us can agree that in the fundamentalist religions, it's very much backwards, very much backwards. And many people, they grow up in that, and then eventually they leave it because it's like, what is this, right? And then they go to other traditions, which are much more open and heart connected. But I do believe that a lot of us have taken that on as if the longing is bad or it's going to hurt. It's not true. It's not true. I speak from my own experience, and now also when I see other people, my clients, some of the group this morning, it's not true. It's the opposite. Your longing is your best friend. So I want to invite you to befriend your longing and see what happens.